This is Witch-based news for Friday the 4th of July 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous news this week, Frontier announced new ARX pricing for large ships in early access. There's a new patch to the game bringing more dynamism to Powerplay. A brand new style of community goal launches into the game this week, and more. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ping the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. Frontier announced earlier this week, in a move that will likely surprise almost no one, that early access to large ships in the game, such as the imminent Panther Clipper Mark II, will cost slightly more ARX than the prior ships such as the Cobra Mark V and the Corsair etc, which were all small and medium class vessels. Prior to the announcement, unlocking ships during their early access period had cost either 16,520 or 33,000 ARX, depending on whether you just wanted to unlock the ship in game or you also wanted to unlock an A-rated build with ship kit and paint job etc, known as the Stellar Edition. The new price for future large class ships is 19,020 ARX for the standard and 38,000 for the aforementioned Stellar Edition, a difference of 2,500 ARX for the standard and 5,000 ARX for the Stellar. Your personal regional currencies are going to obviously differ, but here in the UK, assuming you have 0 ARX in your balance, we've worked out that with some tactical ARX purchasing that required staring at the pricing structure quite intently, you can pick up the large ship Stellar Editions for £20.97 compared to the medium and small ship Stellar Editions at £17.98, a difference of £3. Reaction from the community has actually been rather somewhat muted. Again, I don't think anyone was terribly surprised by the announcement, but there was rather more chatter around the fact that you could interpret the announcement as alluding to the arrival of more large class vessels later this year, which tells you everything you need to know about the value that the Elite Dangerous community puts in new ships, particularly large ones, entering the game. For me, over and above the price change, which is absolutely not a trivial thing in these austere times in which we live, I think the really important and interesting part of the entire announcement is the paragraph at the end, which reads as follows, quote, "Thank you for your outstanding support over the last 10 plus years. We are regularly assessing our in-game pricing to ensure that we are creating a sustainable model allowing us to continue supporting Elite Dangerous with meaningful updates which bring more content and features to your time out in the black." End quote. That's a corporate level affirmation of the deal being struck here and, given Elite's somewhat troubled past, is absolutely key. Frontier have been traditionally and honestly quite bizarrely reticent to affirm this publicly in the past. In exchange for the input of cash from the player base for, in this case, new ships, FDev wished to create a sustainable business model for the game going forward, undertaking to not only continue to support Elite Dangerous into the future but also deliver meaningful updates to the game which include more content and new features. You'll find the details of Frontier's full announcement linked in the description below this video. The first of the new ships this year, the medium class Gutamaya Corsair, entered the game in early access on the 8th of April. As we were putting this show together today, just about 3 months later, Frontier announced that the ship had left its early access period and was now available completely for free using just in-game credits. If you have still yet to purchase one but don't know where to grab it, head to Inara and use the outfitting search tool listed under the data section at the top of the page to find the nearest stockist to your current location. As we reported previously, the next new ship into early access will be the Panther Clipper Mark II on the 22nd of July, a little over 2 weeks from now. And following the arrival of the Clipper, we still have a further 2 ships this year and an as yet unannounced feature. A server-side update entitled Trailblazers 3.4 arrived on Thursday this week. The so named update is slightly misleading as it implies it's an update centred around the ongoing colonisation in-game beta. In actual fact, Trailblazers is just the current season of Elite that we're in, and whilst the update does have some fixes for colonisation, it largely concerns itself with some significant changes to how Powerplay works, whilst also introducing a new type of community goal. We'll talk about the community goal in a moment, but for now, here's what's now happening to Powerplay. One of the issues with the very first iteration of Powerplay, oh so many years ago now, was the extremely static nature of the powers at play. Once systems, control and borders were established, it was very hard, or in some cases impossible, to significantly affect any kind of meaningful change on those borders. The very best you could hope for was to maintain the status quo. Along with quite a lot else about Powerplay 1.0, that's not very interesting or exciting. One of the clear goals with Powerplay 2.0 that launched last year was Frontier's desire to make the back and forth that should be happening as the galaxy's great superpowers clash more dynamic, giving players more feedback on their efforts and more of a reason to engage with the system in the first place. Whilst the new system has done a far better job of achieving discernible movement in the Galactic shoving match, Frontier clearly feels that there is more room for dynamism, and so implemented a number of changes this week to, in their words, encourage more aggressive play and create more vulnerability and therefore fluidity in power territory. I won't drill into the dry details, but as a highlighted taster of the direction FDev are pushing in, the control scores that determine who controls a system and how much will now decay on a weekly basis. The decay can only go down to a maximum level of 25% of the current system state, the example FDev have given being a stronghold system at 100% would decay down to 25% of the stronghold purple progress bar and then stop. And so therefore a system cannot change state through decay alone. It does however make heavily ignored border systems for everyone more vulnerable to attack and subsequent loss. That decay also happens on a sliding scale, decaying faster at higher score levels than it does at lower ones. Now whether of course you actually care who owns the system you're in really is going to depend on how and why you engage with Powerplay. For me personally, I do genuinely enjoy the character levelling and progression that I'm seeing through Powerplay, and in particular the unlocking of the next Powerplay module or delivery of engineering materials etc, and it is for me a great motivator. But it is still a very personal journey for me and about me, and I don't yet at least particularly care what progress, if any, my power is making or what parts of the map it owns. I'm not sure how FDev can make me care about that stuff, or if indeed they even need to. As long as I can continue to progress my journey there and get access to stuff, whatever it may be, that is enough for me. Your mileage may of course vary. For all the details of everything included in the update, you'll find the patch notes linked below. I mentioned in the last piece then that patch 3.4 to Trailblazers had introduced a new type of community goal. For as long as I can remember, community goals were driven predominantly by a seemingly random piece of in-game lore unconnected to anything actually happening in the wider game. Often they would revolve around a minor faction apparently looking to achieve a thing that required huge quantities of another thing to achieve this previously unheard of goal. The community would respond, the thing would be delivered, the community got credits for their efforts, and then, a week after, everyone moved on with their lives, never to return. It wasn't always the case. Absolutely, some stations etc did get built, but very broadly speaking there was rarely any discernible change to the galaxy as a result of a CG. Later, Frontier experimented with what they called interstellar initiatives. These were essentially multi-part community goals connected to some very focused lore and storytelling in the game. They were an attempt by Frontier to make the galaxy feel more dynamic and responsive to player actions, and certainly from the outside they did work. For example, the Bridging the Gap Interstellar Initiative resulted in what we now call the Colonia Bridge, a string of starports and megaships that stretches all the way from Colonia to the bubble. Later, as the game further matured, community goals became directly linked to sweeping story arcs in the game, such as the rise of Salvation and the Thargoid War, and they also introduced more tangible rewards for participation, offering cosmetic items such as ship skins and decals etc. And of late, the venerable CG has adapted yet again to the new reality that it finds itself a part of, becoming directly linked to two competing Powerplay factions and offering double pre-engineered weapons and modules for participation. With the arrival of Trailblazers 3.4 then, the community goal has evolved yet again, with this week seeing the arrival of what essentially equates to a three-way community goal. Like turning up to a party wearing the same frock as a romantic rival in a cheesy paperback, both Lee Yong-rui and Jerome Archer have deployed megaships and are attacking systems held by the Imperial Smurfess herself, Aisling Duval. Not only is the goal a three-pronged affair with commanders able to sign up for either of the aforementioned love rivals or Aisling, but it also features space-based Powerplay conflict zones centred around both outposts and previously unseen Black Ops megaships. And it's at these megaships that the goals themselves can be signed up for and any combat bonds gained, by Aisling's attackers at least, handed in. Defenders of the great Galactic Blue Bottle herself can use a more traditional starport in the Princess's stronghold system of Meitian. The systems where appropriate conflict zones are located are listed in the text of each goal when you pick them up, but in a new and frankly very welcome further twist, you will gain Powerplay merits for your own faction when you participate, regardless of who you're pledged to. Further still, the goal is offering pre-engineered 1E and 3C gimbaled frag cannons, pre-engineered with double shot and high capacity modifications, as well as the usual credits incentives. And whilst the actual ramifications are not yet fully understood, in their announcement for the 3.4 patch, Frontier did suggest that this new breed of Powerplay CG could in fact help to shape the galaxy going forward. The CG is set to run for a full 2 weeks, and certainly in its opening moments the fight looks to be a long and difficult one for the popular princess. For example, the system you can see on screen now is Santi, where Aisling's forces are fighting the arrival of a Federation Black Ops megaship. All indications at this early stage are that this particular fight has gone very badly for the Imperials. The disadvantage for the two involved systems that have a megaship deployed to them is that players can sign up, walk out the front door of the megaship, plap Imperial ships and then dock, rearm and hand in their bonds, all without touching supercruise or hyperspace. The other systems involved in the CG that don't have a deployed megaship are not, currently at least, faring anywhere near as badly however. In the realm of internet spaceship warfare, convenience is, it seems, king. I find the reasoning behind this action by Frontier quite interesting. As I've mentioned, they have a stated goal of making Powerplay 2.0 more dynamic. Does a serious loss for Duval in these conflicted systems CG mean she loses the systems? I'm assuming it does, but it hasn't been specifically stated. Why did FDev pick these systems specifically, and is this a tool for them to use going forward to G things up a bit where needed and throw the cat amongst the pigeons where they see it might be needed perhaps? Time will tell. The current CG runs for the next 2 weeks and is of course open to absolutely anyone, with again some easy to get, absolutely worth having rewards. If you're new to Powerplay and spaceship combat in the game, this could be some convenient low hanging fruit you can use to dip a toe in. Are you participating in the new Powerplay community goal? Are you planning on picking up a Gutermeyer Corsair, and if you are, what are you using it for? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.